It's been 3 months since I've got this 100-watt Thunder laser here in my shop, and I have to apologize. I haven't given you a proper introduction, so we're gonna do that today. We're gonna do an in-depth look at all of its features, but also now I have the ability, because I have 3 months of experience, I can give you a review of the things I like, the things I use, the things I don't use. So, in-depth look of the Thunder Laser Nova 35 coming up. If you were here standing in my shop, the very first thing that you would notice is the overall footprint of this compared to my 2-car garage. So the overall footprint right here is 59 inches, but we do have this box hanging off the side for the laser tube. So a total width of 75 inches, and then a total from front to back, we've got a total of 44 inches. So we're almost 4 feet from front to back, and we're almost, 6 feet from side to side. So it does take up a lot of space. The height off the ground, we're at about 41 inches. So the footprint is pretty big. And that was my limiting factor when I was looking at getting a laser, was the overall footprint. I ran out of room in my basement shop, so I've come up here and taken over the garage. So I've got this Thunder laser here, and then I've got my Avid CNC right next to it. And believe it or not, my wife still parks in the garage. We have a small SUV, a Toyota RAV4, and it parks on the other side. So it is cram-packed in here, but it does allow space. Next, let's look at how big of a part we can cut or engrave, the total working area. Now, this is the Thunder Nova 35. So that determines the width. The next size up is the Nova 51, and its max width cut size is 51 inches. The max width is 35.4 to be exact, and then the max on the Z-axis between the honeycomb and the head is 9.1 inches at its maximum. And then with the pass-through slots closed, our max Y from front to back is 23.6 inches. Now, if we were to remove the front and back plates for the pass-through, our total Y capacity is unlimited in theory. Now, those are the max cutting dimensions. You can lay a bigger part in here, and you can see there's some clearance on the edges. So if your part was a little bit bigger, it can overhang. But as far as cutting and engraving, those are the dimensions I gave are the work area. So everything I needed to get started with this laser came with this laser, including this chiller. So I've got this chiller behind here, which keeps the tube cool, the CO2 tube, which we'll open up here in a second. My plan here is to show you everything kind of on the outside and then start it up and show you things on the inside and show capability and talk about that. So over here in the back, I've got the chiller. It hooks up here to water in, water out, and then power. One of the really cool things about this entire setup is everything is automatic. It's just controlled with the push of the button. So we've got all these relays, and we've got outputs, all the electrical needed for this chiller to come on automatically. So this chiller is automatically set. It's already set to the on position. So when I turn on the power over there, it automatically comes on. The same thing with the exhaust. The exhaust is powered by the unit. So when you start the laser, when the laser starts firing, it turns on the exhaust automatically and does its thing. So that's really handy. So the only thing I need to do with the exhaust is make sure this blast gate's open. I added this myself, and I cut a hole in my garage door, the man door, and put that in there so that blows to the outside. And so my workflow is, you'll see here in a second, open this up, fire the laser, everything else exhaust-wise fires on its own, and we're good to go. Air assist. So I've got low and high volume air assist. Low I use for engraving, high I use for cutting, and so those are set here. But the other thing is this comes on automatically too. This is included with the exhaust and the chiller. When the laser fires up and goes and it's cutting or engraving, this automatically comes on And so there's no touching this. There's no turning all these things on at once when the laser, to get the laser going. It's the hit of a button and it all goes. All right, so let's take a look at the laser tube. Again, this is a 100-watt laser. It's back here under lock and key, which I like that. All these things, this safety features, all of the panels you'll notice on this machine, you just need this key. All right, so we unlock it here and it folds up. And again, I don't ever need to come back here. And so I don't, but this is the laser tube right here. CO2 laser, has everything in here that you need. It's water cooled from the chiller, and yeah, I don't really touch it, but this is the laser. So this tube is expected to last anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 working hours, and that's from the manufacturer. Obviously, it depends on how hard you run them, what you're cutting. Are you engraving? Just what kind of power output you're demanding of it. But that doesn't mean the laser is done. A replacement laser for this, a replacement tube for this laser is $750. So if you're running a business, this is really a consumable. And if you're a hobbyist, then I understand that you want to get as much as you can out of it. But this is something you can factor into your overhead. And $750, over, let's split the difference, over 3,000 hours really isn't significant. But the good thing is it is replaceable. The laser isn't done when this is done. Okay, so I said that I use this laser a lot during the holiday rush. In here, behind this panel, is the crumb tray. I have not emptied it yet, and it is very full. I can see it down through the mesh. I should have emptied it by now, but this will show you how much I've used this thing. All right. Look at all of that. There's my hand. I mean, there's probably millions of pieces in there. That's a lot of cut. That's a lot of cutting. One cool thing is you can see, here's the belts here for the drive for the bed that goes up and down. And this is really nice because it just folded down and it stays there. Look at that. So this is actually on rollers. That's really nice. Look at that. Look at all those pieces. Look at all of those pieces. So a lot of these were cut from our lanterns. So our snowflake lanterns, and then those nativities that we were making has a ton of small cuts, but that is a lot. This was all done in, I don't know, 2 to 3 months, the holiday season. So, so it's been heavily used. All right, so I'm gonna get this out, dump it, and put it back in. There we go, good as new. All right, so let's fire this thing up, and I will show you the controller, and I'll show you it running and test it out. So over here on the side, there's a main power switch, and then there's a laser switch. And so you can actually have the machine on with the laser off. And so another safety feature. And then you have all your connections here, Ethernet, USB stick, or PC. So you can hook this directly up to the PC. We just use a thumb drive. Because our design computer's inside, so we put all our files on here and load them in, and it's pretty easy to do. But you can hook up, you can hook this to your PC directly, so you could send directly from Lightburn to this, or you could even hook it up to your network and do it that way. But let's turn it on. All right, so here's a look at the controller. Now this is really, really neat. It kind of explains why we use the USB and we're not really hooked up to the computer. So we can actually save our files that we run all the time on this machine. So there's 128 megabytes of storage, and these files aren't that big because it's just basically G-code files, text files. So I don't know if you can see very well, but Nativity, we've got a couple other custom projects we did, but you can scroll down and then it gives you a preview right here as well. So this is our leaf lantern. We've cut 10 of those. The snowflake lantern that we did this holiday season, we cut 45 of those. So it keeps track of how many you cut as well. So it looks like right now we have 14 files saved on here. So it's a matter of putting a piece of wood in there and hitting start on one of these files that's already loaded in. Super easy, everything is saved here, the speeds, the feeds, the power, everything. So that's really nice. A couple other features, you can obviously, you can actually adjust the speed on the fly, which is really nice. Origin is really nice if you ever need to. Right now the origin is set up to the upper left hand corner, but if you ever want to set a new origin, you can do that just jogging the laser around and hitting origin. So a lot of features here, a lot of cool things. I like that it's kind of on board, and yeah, so this is how you move it around. So it's really easy to move around. Again, our origin's set to the upper left, and it is typically set to the upper left. So we align all of our material to the upper left and then work out from that way. It's really dirty inside. Mine's really dirty inside, you can tell. This black color right here was all, you know, basically aluminum color when it was new. The material that we cut is pretty dirty. So there is a lot of cleaning that needs to be done. We clean the lenses at least once a day when we're cutting, and that's all the lenses. That is basically ongoing maintenance, and it's an expectation. You have to keep those lenses clear. If you don't, you'll end up burning up a lens, and it's an $80 mistake. So cleaning the lenses is routine and is needed. All right, so I'm going to flip on the laser here. When I say turn on the laser, it's not actually going to start cutting. It just activates it basically. And then you'll hear the cooler, the chiller, start up as well. So the chiller is circulating all the water right now. You saw that it said 5.6 degrees, that's Celsius. Still pretty cold, but the garage does say above freezing, which is very important. You don't want, that's just water in that. And so a couple times we had some really, really cold weather, like 0 degrees. I unhooked the chiller and took it inside and covered everything up with a blanket. And so it is a consideration. If your space does get below freezing, that's going to be a problem. All right, so this is the material that we cut a lot of. It's 1/8 inch MDF core white oak veneer, and then just apply backing. We actually get this left over from a local cabinet shop, and so we get it for really cheap, and we make a lot of products out of this. So mainly what we've cut is this material. All right, so again, we line up all of our material to the upper left-hand corner and kind of use the grid. If we don't need things perfectly straight, we use the honeycomb grid to kind of eyeball it. It's hard to see, but there is a red dot that comes down just so it helps you align things in the corner. So that red dot's there. I don't think it comes through on the camera, but so that's our lineup. All right, so with any laser, focus is extremely important. What I've ended up doing is I end up using this 6mm piece of acrylic that is sent with the laser to focus. So the focal length of this laser is 6mm above, if you're focusing to the top of your workpiece. So there is a way to autofocus. These sensors here on the sides are basically they shoot a beam across, and when your material breaks that beam, it stops. So we're going to try that now. You can see the bed coming up. And then it automatically stops. But what I found is because this material is kind of a reclaimed material and it tends to, it's a laminated plywood basically, it tends to bow and cup just a little bit. But what happens is because of that a little bow on the edges, it puts everything out of focus. So that's why I use this. I just manually focus everything. Now, if your material is completely flat all the time, then you don't have to even worry about it. You can just use the autofocus. But for me, this is a lot faster, and I don't have to reset it before every job. I just have to set it once because nothing's gonna move. So what I do is I take it. You can loosen this little nut on the head, and this moves the head up and down. And so I know now that it is 6 millimeters exactly. So then I just try to get my material as flat as possible. But I don't have to worry about it throwing off that laser beam at all. Now, if you were working with acrylic or something that is dead flat, something that's thicker, I would use the auto focus. But for this stuff, I just manually focus. All right, so I've got you in tight here. This right here is the air assist hose, and that's easily attached by this coupling right here. Air assist, and then there's a total of 3 mirrors. There's one mirror right here, that's where the laser is coming in. It's reflecting, it goes into here, and then there's a mirror in here that reflects it down, and then there's a mirror right here that focuses the laser. So those are the 3 things you need to clean. Just a quick wipe down, like undo this real quick, and then check it. This is the main one that gets really, really dirty. Let's go ahead and start a job. So everything is on. Already turned everything on. We close the hood here. And then we're gonna go in and hit File. And let's do, let's see here. Let's cut our leaf lantern. So we'll cut our leaf lantern. This is set up to cut 3. You can see, let me see here. See, you cut 3 leaf lanterns. So we put our material vertically. We'll close the lid, and I'm gonna hit Start on that file. And you'll notice everything fire up. So one thing you'll notice, I'm still talking the same as I was before, and it's really quiet. So the air assist is on, the fan is on, and you can still have a conversation in here. So I'm gonna stop that, and then we'll look at the cuts, and I'll show you a couple more things that are really cool. The exhaust runs for a few seconds longer after you stop the laser to clear out all the smoke. And so you can just leave it closed for a couple seconds. And you can see it shut off. Here's our cuts. So focus is pretty good. Might be able to a little better, but these are really intricate too. So the more intricate it is, the more it's gonna kind of burn it. But here are the cutouts. All right, so the settings for that, I'll talk a little bit more about software here in a second. But the settings for that cut that we just did on this material was 30 speed, 30 millimeters per second, and 60% power. Again, this is a 100-watt laser. I would say that's where the main learning curve is. Speed versus power versus what materials you're gonna cut. But Thunder Laser has all this information on their website to get you started, kind of a start guide. But again, different material densities. You could have 2 plywoods that are both a 1/2 inch thick, but they could have different densities. Depends on layer, depends on glue. So there is a little bit of trial and error. There are some tests that you can run that they already have the files for. That it's basically like a speed test. And so that's a good idea to do as well. So software, Thunder lasers come with Lightburn, and Lightburn is a widely known, widely used laser software, and it's very intuitive, very easy to use, and I really like it. I was a little worried about it, but it's really basic and just as powerful as you need. So, and they have their own interface. Thunder Laser has their own interface with this software. But I hope this gave you an idea of what this laser is, what it's capable of, its size, capability, and features. One of the main things I really like about it, everything comes assembled. You just have to hook things up, and I would say in a couple hours you're cutting things. That is one advantage that a laser has over a CNC. Now, different capabilities, completely different things, both very powerful in their own way. Obviously, you can't make a wooden tray with a laser. Two completely different machines. But setup-wise, this thing came in a crate. I rolled it off the crate. The only thing I had to do was install a dedicated 20 amp circuit for this thing. So this is, it runs on 110. I don't know if I mentioned that, but runs on 110 volts, 20 amp circuit, just needs to be dedicated to it. I'll be making several more videos on this Thunder laser and specifically about how it's impacted our business. Be sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss those upcoming videos. And if you want to make money and get a jump start on making money with a CNC laser or a CNC router, I do have my Discord server group where there's about 30 of us in there now. And I just opened a dedicated CNC laser channel on that Discord server for people to talk about lasers specifically. And we've got a few dedicated laser users in there, and we have some great conversations. So if that's an interest of you, I'll leave a link in the description for you to check out. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.